Hello.
Hi.
Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to everyone wherever you are. And we hope you enjoy our short seminar, which is going to focus on design competitions. And we thought it might be interesting to match up a design competition with a client and actually see not only how the process worked for Aistė's team, but also how this might also give you insights into the design competition process. And thanks to the Connecting Culture team for getting us launched on this. So I'm going to ask Aistė to introduce herself and say a few words, and then I'll do the same, and then we'll kick off the presentation. Aistė.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Aistė. I am the head of investment and project division in Kaunas City Municipality. My division is responsible for managing EU projects all over the city. We have over 100 projects at a time. And also I am the head of National Science and Innovation Center, which works under Ministry of Science and Education. And I was involved in the project of Science Center, which is educational science center for children mostly. I was involved from the very beginning when we started the design competition up to now when we are implementing it.
Thank you. And for me, we have a small team in London. We run an expert consultancy which arranges and manages design competitions around the world. And one of the fascinating things about this is that these are specialist pieces of procurement. There's a lot of buildings which are procured which don't have design competitions. This is a very small percentage, but it actually has a very big impact. Kaunas, City of Design. This is the smashing city. It's a small city. It's about the size of Edinburgh, but it packs a real punch. And it's interestingly geographically because most of Lithuania's 3 million residents live within an hour of the capital itself. So that has made it a magnet for bright, young, engaged population enjoying cafe culture, sports, and education with its 8 universities. And it is a very interesting, one of the UNESCO's global cities of global creative cities as well. Science Island is a competition which we ran with Aistė, and it's set on this rather beautiful natural feature in central Kaunas, which is called the Nomus Island. And it's a natural resource. It has a beautiful outdoor recreational pursuits, and it crucially is very near the center of Kaunas. So it's linked and connected by a number of bridges which are going to be improved. And I wonder, Aistė, if you wanted to say something about the other projects which form part of the master plan, just to round out the description of the site.
Yeah, this island, which is absolutely the center of the city, right across the bridge from the old town of Kaunas, was generally empty for a very long time. And like 10 years ago, we built a sports arena on one end of it, and the other one is left absolutely untouched. So we were thinking that this place should become the modern center of Kaunas City. So we had a number of projects planned in this area. One was the arena, which is finished like 10 years ago. And the second one is Science and Innovation Center, an educational center for children, like Science Museum. Second one is a swimming pool next to the arena. Also, we have planned additional bridges to connect the island to the city more. And also we have a plan to create an ice park all around the island. We want to do that all at the same time, which is until the end of 2023, to have it all finished and have this island fully renovated and adapted to our needs.
Thank you. So the project itself is a science and innovation centre. And it's a fascinating brief because it's a brief which takes on human, machine, and natural themes and studies these through a scientific and a mathematical lens. So that the place is that the building was very important because it had to project a new identity for not only the study of science and mathematics in Kaunas, but also a draw for international and regional tourists. And the focus will be on a kind of ongoing environmental themes and ecosystems. The way the building is built was important, and it must crystallize this emerging identity for Kaunas. So there were a number of different factors which came in to create the brief for the project itself. And the results, here they are. Now, architectural quality was always paramount from the outset, and this Aistė will talk about this a little bit later, about the importance of creating a high design excellence level. Because Kaunas, historically, it was the capital of the newly independent Lithuanian state between the wars, and had this extraordinary collection of a flowering of design from modernist and national principles. And the city itself is protected, and it has this fantastic architectural set of qualities. And so this was an important message because this is a very important building, both in terms of a public setting, but also in the ethos and the organization of the building's brief itself. We had 144 entries from 44 countries. An international jury judged the competition, and the finalists were, there were 3 finalists, a Spanish-Australian partnership, one from the United Kingdom, and one from China, and 5 honorable mentions, including ones from Lithuania and Turkey. And we were, the importance of the project was underlined by the Prime Minister of Lithuania, who made the awards himself in a presentation on site. So what benefits did Aistė gain from the design contest? I think the first one which was important was the ingenuity and creativity, bringing these 144 architects who each looked at different aspects of the project and who each understood and interpreted the brief in very different ways. Technology, sustainability and construction methods were also part of the competition itself. So it wasn't just the design, it was actually how the design could be built in this island setting. And that was an important part of the competition, of the jury's work, looking at these at the projects itself. The other thing it brought together were teams. So it wasn't just architects who were designing this, but actually professional teams who assembled themselves, and they brought different skill sets, different professional expertise to bear on the problems. And from the client's point of view, it's a fantastic opportunity to test the design brief that they had. There are 144 different focus on this design brief, and we learned a lot with Aistė going through the design process, which then was then able to build that into the brief for the winning design to take forward and develop. The second aspect of the competition, it gave a unique design. It was a special, fit for purpose, fit for place. All the teams could visit the city itself and see the site. So they all began to focus on different aspects. Some were very much craft focused. A number of the competition entries were looking at timber in new ways that timber could be used as a sustainable material. And the project unlocked the long-term potential of the site, and as Aistė has explained, unlocking a master plan really for a whole series of developments and setting a benchmark for excellence for the other projects which were designed on the site itself. Another aspect that the competition process gives you is an opportunity to talk to stakeholders, local community, politicians, because suddenly a project is real and one gets these different perspectives of the future. And so it's a great way of, through an exhibition, for instance, of having that level of engagement. And the third aspect that the competition brings is the right design team, because it's not just the design that's being assessed, but also the qualities of the design team, how effective they are at working together, their understanding of the technical issues and the technical criteria. And it led to many, many new creative collaborations. One of the things that we saw from the teams of working together is architects would pick different multidisciplinary teams. There were a number of teams who looked at using local partners also to work together with them. It's possible to have artists, master planners. There were a number of very interesting contributors to the different teams on the competition itself, which then allows the client to have a little bit more insight into how the brief might be developed. I'm going to say a few more words now before turning over to Aistė. What are the characteristics of a successful design contest? So this is drawing some general principles from the project we ran in Kaunas. The first message I think we would give to any client is that if you spend time preparing the competition and your design brief, you will get a better outcome. And the design brief is an important document because it sets out the objectives of the project, as well as the background, the things that are important to the client, and the things that are to be investigated or interpreted. And it's a useful document because it can bring partnership together in the client group and for other stakeholders in projects. And it makes a single place where everything is brought together and contained. And the excellent thing about this is that obviously then you've got a document which is easy to pass out to professional teams and get them to understand what the issues are about the project quickly. Communications is a really important thing. Some competitions are private, but many competitions are public. And we always say that, you know, the first communications in launching the competition is this is your pitch to the designer. There are a large variety of architectural practices around the world, some emerging, some established, and I'll let you into a secret, not all of them are fantastic. So you want to reach out and speak to those architects who do have an understanding and a hunger for your project. Engage with the stakeholders, talk to them about the project itself, involve them. That might be the public around, but also those who are paying for the project. Because this is, as I said, this is a point that you get to on a project where suddenly everything becomes real. You see different designs, different potential visions for the site, and that can be incredibly exciting, but also help to gather public support. And of course, that public support is really helpful when you're then moving through the subsequent stages of getting planning and construction. And the third piece of advice for clients is be forward thinking. These are buildings, many of the buildings that we run competitions for, and this one is very much the same, will be here for 50, maybe 100 years. And think to the future. This is an opportunity to build into projects an aspect of forward thinking, future thinking about technology, about how how the building itself may evolve into something over that time. These are aspects which the competition can consider, and architects will bring their focus to bear on this. Demand an integrated solution. Buildings are no longer just standalone pieces. They exist in the cities. Even more and more important now with placemaking, landscape architecture, urbanism, and many competitions which are cultural centres have all these components, and therefore these are components important to think about in the brief, but also in the design teams and the designs that are coming out. And allow designers to add value outside the brief. This is sometimes controversial because you say, well, we only want this, but we didn't ask for that. But sometimes the critique of what you don't ask for is very valuable you're thinking about how the project develops. Aistė.
Yes, the challenges that we faced during the design competition. It's important to say that this was first really open international competition in Lithuania ever. So it was first of all difficult to explain our local people why we are doing something that will cost us more, will take us more time, will be more difficult. And they were saying we will get the same results. So why do we want to make it so complicated? So convincing people why we should do an open competition was first challenge that we ran into. And the second challenge, which was very difficult, was that we didn't have in Lithuania a legal system to run an open international design competition. And we had to run everything under public procurement law, which is generally not designed for that kind of competition. And a lot of restriction made our work kind of complicated. But we were very happy because Malcolm and his team really managed to work under all the constrictions that we had. So those were the two most difficult things we had to face during the competition. What we gained from this design competition, and after for almost 4 years of working with this project, I am more than happy with the results that we have. So the first and the most important thing is the high quality results that we received from this competition. We, as Malcolm mentioned, we received a number of entries from various countries, and we received some ideas we couldn't even think of. At the beginning, we were saying that we have a site which we want to protect because it's very natural and it's very close to people's heart. They don't want to touch it. But at the same time, we were saying we want to have a landmark, a modern landmark that will be on the postcard for next 25 years or so and represent the city. So we were very happy with the jury work, very different people coming on the jury, and we were happy with all three three winners that we then entered to negotiation, and the project that we have is very close to my heart and very wonderful. I hope it will turn out to be as great as it looks now. Second, and as much important, I would say, element of this design competition and the risk that we take is that we actually have a best practice for the better future design competitions. Because after we did this competition, basically all architects in Lithuania who were used to holding those design competitions that we used to have, they were all very satisfied with all the elements of design competition, including briefing, the judging part, the evaluation. Everything was very high standards, and people were very satisfied, especially that, you know, when we live in Lithuania, we have very small community, and basically every architect knows every other architect. And when you see the work of somebody, you see, I know this is that architect, because you just remember everyone by heart. So when you introduced a third party to your design competition, you can actually do anonymous competition and choose the best design. So this set a best practice in here. After this competition, we had another international design competitions, and I know that other cities that are smaller are trying to follow this standard that we put and do something similar that we did with the Science Island competition. And the third benefit that we have, which is also very important, Science Island is the first educational science center for children in Lithuania. We never had that kind of before. We never had a third generation museum. And we are working not only to have an exceptional building, but also to have an exceptional exhibition, to have activities and to attract people. So that means we need international support. We need international companies coming and working in this project. And the international design competition actually helped sort of represent the project, to spread the message about the project, and to help us find other companies who come and help us work with our project. And the advice that I would give for other clients thinking about the design competition, first advice would be to find a team of professionals who would help you, to trust the team that you chose, and to be involved. Because when we decided to work with Malcolm's team, there were people thinking like, okay, we hire a company to do a competition for us, but it's not like they are going to do your competition. This is your building, your competition. You have to ask what you want to be built in your city. You have to know what is your idea. But on the other side, what was key element and very, very important in the briefing part when we were preparing for the competition is that they know the right questions to ask to help us understand what we want. So this brought a lot of different insights, things that we couldn't even think about. We didn't know what we want when we started the competition. And professional team working with many design competitions actually helped us to define what we want, how we want it. And in the result, the briefing that we prepared, all the architects in here agreed that this was very different and informative and very useful briefing. So this was a great benefit for us.
Good. Shall we tell them how the construction is going, Aistė?
Yes, we have the second slide. So as I mentioned we started the design competition, I think, in 2016. After that, we had negotiations to select one team who will work on the design, and this is Smara Architect. We have been collaborating with them very successfully. We prepared a technical project. We have the funding confirmed, and we launched the public procurement this spring, and this September we expect to start the construction works and to have it finished by early 2023, along with other projects that are ongoing. I have mentioned the swimming pool, the park infrastructure, and one of the bridges will also be built by the end of next year. So we are moving forward with all the elements in the island, and I think yes, this design competition actually helped us to have a great result that we are working on.
Thank you, Aistė. Our final slide is really just to try to bring this back into the subject of the conference itself and to celebrate this aspect of it. I hope you've got some insights into how a client and a competition organizer might work together to optimize and to add value to the entire process, and make a project much more important for architects to enter. The 144 architects who entered this competition were very engaged and wanted to enter the competition and want to win against their peers. And so it's also fantastic to see the project developing into a building itself. So they allow ideas to be shared and connections to be made. It's an international contest, and Aistė's given you a real insight on how international contributions can help improve and enhance and complement local perspectives, and each side gets a benefit. And one-off projects and one-off buildings deserve one-off designs. And a competition will bring innovation, diversity, energy. And one aspect is this lovely launch of the project and a great PR imagery to keep it moving through these stages of negotiation. Okay, I think we've got 1 or 2 minutes. You see there's a question here. It's a good point about the jury. The question about the jury: how is a jury selected, and how do you select the 144 architects? Well, with an open competition, it's very much a stage where each of the architects decides to enter, puts their schemes up, and those schemes are judged. There's a format of competitions called a two-stage competition, which is also can be run under public procurement regulations, where a shortlist is selected from initial contributions that teams make, and the shortlist is then judged by an international jury. So they're just different approaches, and sometimes it's either to do with the procurement approach or what the client would like to see. The jury is drawn from, in the case in Kaunas, the jury was drawn from a variety of contributors. There were architects who represented the local professional body of architects in Lithuania. We brought some special names, the editor of the New Scientist, and architects who specialized in some of this field from internationally. And there were also contributors from the client side as well. I can't remember the exact number of the jury, Aistė. It must have been about 10 or 11, I think.
No, I think it was like 9 people.
9.
If I remember correctly, yes.
And the jury's job is to sort of get together to discuss the issues about the project, get very much an understanding of the ethos of the project, and then we assess the schemes against criteria which have been published already in the competition materials. So it helps with that audit trail, but it also helps to make sure that the competition winner that's been selected by the jury is genuinely reflects the initial search requirements of the project itself.
Yes, I want to add up about the jury. We were very happy with that because we had different people represented on the jury. There were international architects. There were people who work in this field. I mean, they can put in their insights about how the building will have to operate. That is very important. So we had the international expert from UK, I think, and we have a local expert on this topic, as well as we had the representative of municipality, which is doing the competition. We had the representative, and also we had, I think, 2 local architects,
yes,
and some national architects. So various type of perspectives were represented during the judging phase, and sure, 145 took a lot of time and effort. It was not easy, but I think the results, I mean, it's very unique thing that nobody had any complaints. You know, usually when you select, somebody says, oh, you could have done better. In here, I didn't hear anybody saying a word. I mean, all 3 projects selected were unique, interesting, and very different. That's important to say, because all of those top 3 projects were not alike. So
yes.
So that was a good thing for second stage for negotiation.
Okay, well, I think we've reached the end of our allotted time. Been a really interesting presentation for us. I hope you have all gained something from the insights, and particularly from Aistė, who has been very much nurturing this project all the way through, and now construction is about to begin. So thank you for joining us, and we've enjoyed this very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.